Okay, we're gonna be watching Snow, who's playing Winston on Colosseo. This is Plat 5. I don't know if it's PC or console. Hey guys, I've been playing this game for a little bit and I've been trying to get better at Winston. In this game on Colosseo, I get a few frags and I think I play well at times. However, I still think I made a ton of mistakes in this game and would like to get a few tips on this game. One of my biggest problems with this game, especially as Winston, sometimes I am lost during the game and don't have any goal or objective during a team fight. I just need more help with what to do and how to improve my awareness and ability usage. Okay, so let's take a look. So I'm pausing for a second because I'm actually watching your rollout. So your rollout is extremely inefficient. And let's actually rewind and watch you come out. So your goal, as basically every single character, should be to get out to here as fast as you possibly can. As virtually every single character. With minor exceptions, but let's not worry about that right now. Okay? And the reason why you want to get out there is the first people that get out here and swing the corner have an advantage because they get to shoot down here at this choke, and the ones that come out here, there's already people out there and they could be anywhere and suddenly they get shot when they're coming out. It allows you to go ahead and claim space. That's pretty much true in all competitive shooters. I think that you basically always want to show up first if you can. So if we look at you trying to get out first, number one, as soon as the door is open, you should jump over the top. Right? You should jump over this and get over here. That way you don't have to walk around it, which is slow, and then you do this jump. Then once you land, you do the jump tech. I don't know if you did that intentionally or not, but you did the jump tech to get extra distance, which is great. But then you slam into this wall, and you see how you kind of wander over here, and then you start going down the path, and then you finally straighten out. And the net difference of this is that you're here, but you could probably be about here at this point in time, which means that you'd be swinging the corner right around the time that soldier is, instead of when you actually do, which is where the soldier's already out, and you see he's taking advanced position, and he's able to see everybody who comes out through this choke. So, just it's a very little thing, and I think the difference on winning is maybe 1%, but it's a free 1%, so why not, right? Like, if I told you, hey, you have a 1% lower chance because you just didn't jump over it at the start, would you be like, oh, okay, I'll just jump over it? Little things like that, surprisingly, can add up. All right, let's start watching from here. So soldier's here. The first thing I would think is that soldier is very overextended because I just got here and normally I'm moving at full speed, which means that, and Winston's a fairly mobile character, definitely in the upper third of all characters. So for the soldier to already be there and for me to be here means that likely his team is still slow to follow up. So what I would do here is I would actually jump onto the soldier right away. I think it's dangerous to jump left side in case you get pinned in, but jumping right side right away to force that soldier out. And this goes back to, what is your job, right? You kind of asked, hey, you feel lost. What's your goal or objective? Well, your goal objective is to push them back, okay? You don't really have to get kills. I mean, obviously getting kills is great, but your goal is to move everybody away from this robot so this robot can move forwards. And then when they contest over here, you want to move them away so that the robot can move over. And then when the robot gets here, you want to clear them off high ground. And then the robot gets over here, and you still need to clear high ground. Then the robot gets over here, and then you push them back. So your whole perspective should be, how can I move the opposing team backwards, away from the robot, away from my team, without dying? If I move them backwards for 3 seconds but die for it, that's not worth it. Because the net backwardsness is not very much, right? 3 seconds backwards, followed by me dying, and then they roll over my team. The question is, how do I continue moving them backwards without dying? And that's creating space. So if you think about it, you're like, okay, but like literally, how do I get them to move backwards? Well, the thing is, characters generally do not enjoy being dove. If I'm a soldier and you dive on top of me as a monkey, you're going to do 50 damage from landing on me, 30 damage with the melee, and if you're really good, you would charge up your Tesla cannon along the way, so you do an extra 50 damage. So that's 50 plus 50 plus 30 is 130 burst damage the moment that you land on me, which is not great, right? Then I have 70 health. If I stick around, I'd probably die right here, or I might even die from a teammate shooting me. So I will naturally, as a soldier, run away from you, okay? Compared that to D.Va. Okay, D.Va's very tanky. She has like 650 health or something like that. She does a ton of damage. If you dive into D.Va, I'm like, cool, I'm just going to kill you, right? Because D.Va does 4 times as much, almost 4 times as much damage as you do. So diving on D.Va doesn't make her go backwards. It's not your job to move the D.Va backwards. It's your job to move everybody else who supports the D.Va backwards. And that should be your perspective. She's just zapping Tesla Cannon right now. I mean, this is still okay because your team's kind of positioning. I would be careful about just standing in the open right now. It's very monkey. You have a giant hitbox, and you don't really do any damage from that distance, so it's not great. So the D.Va dies you right here, and one of the first things you should learn about Winston is do not fight D.Va basically ever unless she's about to get demeched, because she does 217 damage per second. for the first second and a half. And even after that, she's still going to do about 140 damage a second. You only do 60 damage a second with your Tesla cannon, right? So even without micro missiles, she does almost 2.5 times as much damage as you do. That is massive. That's not including headshots, by the way. That's if you're just like, she's just shooting you in the rump. So you really do not want to fight D.Va under any scenario. Similar thing applies to things like Reaper, right? You really don't want to fight Reaper unless you have bubble to protect you, or the Reaper is very, very low and you're going to kill him almost instantly. So as Winston, very, very important to understand, who do I fight, who do I not fight? Because unlike most other tanks, he's actually not very versatile in terms of the fights he can take, right? There's very few heroes that you can fight and beat straight on. That's just the nature of Winston, of being a very mobile tank and having great splash. So your goal is not to necessarily fight those heroes, it's to fight everybody else who really don't want to fight you. So you jump away here, which is the correct call, but your jump here is short. It's very, very short. Especially because you see the soldier here, your goal, is because you have plenty of health, is to jump over here, land on this soldier, and then force him back right away. That's good value, because the soldier is applying pressure to your flank, which is dangerous, right? He could get a kill, and it's distracting. It prevents your team from doing other things like shooting the D.Va or shooting the rest of their team. So that's your job here. Instead, you do this short jump. It's actually kind of a medium range jump, but you should have done a longer jump, and I'll link a video on jump mechanics. This jump is way too short because you land in the open, you're still getting shot, and you do nothing to pressure off the soldier. See, the soldier backs off. He's like, oh, are you going for me? You're not, actually. So you don't recognize the soldier is here, and now you see the soldier shooting at you free. This is probably one of the worst situations for Winston to be in. You don't want this to happen right now, where he's just shooting at you, and you're not doing anything. This is what eventually leads to losses, and you should recognize this as you have messed up. In a situation where people are just shooting at you out of your range is no good. You want to be hiding until you're going. Then you want them to be running away, right? You don't want to be just standing here in no man's land where you're like, oh shoot, people with better guns than me are shooting me. I can't do anything about it. That's symptomatic of poor Winston play. Next thing to talk about are bubbles. Okay, so for bubbles, every bubble you use is critical. If you use one wrong bubble in a fight, I can almost guarantee you will lose the fight. Okay, I already think you've lost the fight now, even before you put down this bubble. But now that you put down this bubble is bad. Because this bubble doesn't actually help you or your team take any space. You use this bubble because you got low and you got scared that you were going to die, even though realistically there's no chance you could die here with double supports, A. But B, how does this bubble prevent the enemy team from just walking forwards? It clearly doesn't, right? This bubble is way too far in the back. It doesn't even prevent the soldier from continuing to shoot at the bubble, if you wanted to. So you see this bubble is useless, right? Totally useless. Other than preventing like another 100 damage or whatever to you, which wouldn't have killed you anyway, this bubble is useless. So D.Va goes in on your team. You're zapping the D.Va. Again, I think you recognize pretty quickly that's not a good call. It's just not going to do anything right now. Like the D.Va, you just tickle D.Va. it really, against tanks, your gun does almost no damage. Now, instead, you should be going for backline. So I think forcing off the soldier is a good call. The problem right now is that you've made a sequence of bad decisions that have made it very hard for you to turn the fight around in the current state. You do not have bubble. You didn't apply any pressure to the opposing team. You didn't deal any damage. You basically didn't gain any ult charge. Look, you're at 17% ulti, and the enemy D.Va is at 37. So she is over double your ult charge in the first fight, which is not good. So you're just not doing any of the things of Winston effectively in this fight, which makes it very hard to do something, right? If I was in this situation, what I would do is just be like, you know what, I'm just going to basically chill, right? I literally can't do anything until bubble comes back up. And then bubble gives me an opportunity to start doing something. So I'd probably like maybe hide right here, maybe hide to the right side, whatever I can safely get to, maybe hide even here. And this is actually probably the best option. And then wait for an opportunity for me to have bubble again. So you have bubble, and then you jump in right now. So number one, look at the impact radius. So ideally, you want the impact to be, so it's 50 damage at the center, it drops all the way down to like, I don't know, 10, 15 damage at the outside. So you want to land on people, preferably, assuming they won't just kill you when you land on them, and you want to land on squishies. As a reminder, tanks basically ignore the damage that Winston does. Like, for all practical purposes, you cannot kill or dissuade tanks from doing anything as Winston. It is simply not your job. I would say the sole exceptions are Zarya and Sigma situationally, highly situationally. Can you really force them back? Most of the other tanks will be thrilled if you jump on them because it gives them a great opportunity to do a ton of damage to you and farm all off you. So this jump is not good. Okay, you don't want to be landing on the D.Va. You want to be landing, for example, over here, right? So you could have gone this way and landed right there. Or you could have landed deeper in. I actually wouldn't recommend that, but that's another option. This jump gives you absolutely nothing. The diva is not even going to notice that you landed on her. Okay? That's number one, is that you're simply not jumping the right target. Number two, you want to land in a position where you can zap more people. Okay? You can't actually zap that many people. You can only zap the diva, who basically is not a good target to begin with. So all you're really zapping here is the Ana. Versus if you landed over here, you could maybe be zapping the soldier and the Ana, which is really great. Okay, both of those are squishy targets, much more dangerous for you to be zapping them than diva, which again will be ignoring your damage. Number three, this spot does not give you an opportunity to retreat away, because the diva can just blow you up right now. It's extremely dangerous, and you're at half health. So all of these things combined are just not very good for you, and it's not a very good jump. So you put down bubble right away, which is generally the right call. I wouldn't say right away. There's actually a lot of skill to putting down bubble later. You actually want to put down bubble as late as you possibly can. But you put down the bubble. The problem is that you're still stuck here with the diva, who's going to do 217 damage a second to you. So you're literally going to die here in slightly more than 1 second, assuming the diva has even mediocre aim. She's going to kill you so fast. So that goes back to the problems of jumping the wrong targets at the right time in the wrong angles. That's what Winston is, like, all the way up until GM. Like, I literally think that you could get all the way to GM just by understanding who and when to jump. Right? There's not really a lot more to Winston. Like, yeah, there's a ton of techniques with Primal Rage, like, but let's assume your Primal Rage techniques are awful, right? You're so bad at Primal Rage. That's fine. I still think that you could at least get to, like, mid-masters if you were awful at Primal Rage just by knowing when and where to jump. Because this is very symptomatic of someone who actually doesn't know how to play Winston well. Which is, I'm not trying to slight you, I'm just trying to explain that the gap between what I'm seeing here on Winston for you and where you should be as Winston, of somebody where, like, maybe your mechanics aren't great, but you, like, know when and where to go, is very, very large. Alright, so, as explained, this diva is going to blow you up. But let's talk briefly about bubble value too. So how do you determine what's a good value bubble and what's a bad bubble? Well, it's tough, and it's highly situational. For example, if you use bubble to stop a sleep dart on a teammate or high noon, that's obviously huge value. But in general, that's not typically what's happening. In general, you're using it primarily to do damage. So I use this kind of general metric. If you do less than 50 damage with the bubble, right? Like, if the bubble allows you to stick around to do less than 50 damage, the bubble is completely useless, right? This is like a completely wasted bubble. So for example, remember the bubble that happened over here? This bubble was useless. You got no damage out of it whatsoever. Terrible bubble. You do bubbles like that, you will lose the game. This bubble, right? Or actually, well, let's go to the next category. So 51 to 100 is a bad bubble. Not useless, but bad bubble. You didn't get enough value out of it for it to really be worth it. Probably. Once you're at the 101 to 150, that's a fine bubble. I think that's typically what the value you get of a bubble. That's zapping 2 targets for about a second, right? Which is fine. You're not carrying the game. You're on average, or maybe you're going to win 50% of the games, or like somewhere between 45 to 55. It's an okay bubble. Those are your consistent bubbles. When you're looking at 150 to 200, now you're looking at good bubbles, right? That's the situation where you're starting to carry as Winston and influencing the game. And how do you get 150 damage? Well, it's zapping 2 people for about 2.5 seconds, right? Or it's zapping 3 people for about a second, okay? Example of good bubbles. Once you're doing over 200 damage with a bubble, you are doing really well. At that point, you are straight up carrying the game. Like, if you're consistently getting bubbles where you're doing 200 damage to the enemy, you are doing really, really, really well. Again, just general benchmarks to try to help you think, like, how much value I get out of this bubble. So let's go back to this. Let's see the bubble, right? So you're going to jump in right here. Again, bad jump, as we already mentioned. Starting from this bubble, let's see how long you're in here. So that's about 1 second. So it's about 60 damage, right? Maybe 70 damage-ish right now, right? Before that bubble expires. But it's reduced by Diva's armor. So it's really closer to 50 damage. So, bad bubble. Not throw, but bad bubble. For sure. You're going to get slept right here. You get lit up. And then you're going to die. So, your support's really going to heal you. Your Kiriko was trying to heal you. Your Ana couldn't heal because she's getting pushed by the Diva. And, Kiriko's just doing her best to try to heal you, but oh, you're kind of far and you die. You could maybe step around the corner to survive, but ultimately I think actually dying here is actually probably better because this fight is lost. So if we look at this, why did you lose this fight? Okay, so again, you're stuck in a bad position. You should have played the beginning of this map much better. Then you jump into the wrong target, you don't apply any pressure to the backline, you're exclusively zapping the tank. It allows the other 4 people to totally ignore your presence and just commit damage on you. You show your back to them by turning around the corner. You see, like, this is really bad. You can probably see, like, this is super, super bad for you. The D.Va is like, cool, I don't have to worry about you, and then starts going in after your team. She kills the Ashe, you jump out, you've taken so much damage, and then you're gonna die. So I would say on, you know, an A to F grade of Winston play, I would say this is basically like a D-. It's really hard to imagine how you could have played Winston worse on this first life, because none of your jumps were effective, your bubbles weren't effective, you weren't able to pressure the back line, you died very, very quickly, took way too much damage, forced your supports to really have to commit resources into you, and nothing was really accomplished. Okay, so because you died first, you are staggered from the rest of your team, right? Or they're staggered from you, whichever way you want to look at it. So you're coming out before your supports are really ready, and it's really hard for you to do anything right now. Number one thing here is don't die, because that continues to stagger. Oh, I didn't even realize there's a place you can crouch there. So you're going to jump back, which is not so good, because that's going to open up the opportunity. D.Va could have come in right now, maybe gotten a kill. But no, overall, I think the right thing is you're trying to wait for your team. So you're going to jump into this bubble. How much damage do you get with this bubble? Right? So that is not even a whole second of damage, almost entirely against a tank. So we're looking at about maybe 50 damage dealt. Again, another really bad bubble, right? I think that you should have gotten healed up and then maybe jumped in either a little deeper or just play the corner here and just try to zap the D.Va while letting your team force the D.Va back versus you forcing the D.Va back, and save bubble for the next fight. Because the bubble here is not appreciably going to change the situation at all. You see that they're already backing out when this bubble goes in. Like, they don't want to stay. Like, the bubble is not like, oh, look, there's a bubble, we gotta leave. Like, they're already deciding to leave. To be fair, the bubble does block a good amount of damage for your team at this angle, but other than that, I think it's not great value. And your Ashe does get a pick on the Kiriko. Okay. So, maybe D.Va's gonna pop bomb here, which is A, a very bad bomb, but B, you spend time looking at it as though you're going to do something about that. Like, you're already safe around the corner. You should just prioritize killing the baby D.Va to prevent her from remeching, because that's actually your job right now, is to make sure the remech doesn't happen. And so now she gets the remech, gets full mech again, she kills your Ana for it. I think maybe Ana was trying to kill her, is my guess. Oh, no, the bomb kills her. Yeah, the bomb kills her. Yeah, see how low she gets? She got all the way down to 50 health. So if you'd zapped her for less than a second, you would have killed baby D.Va, which would have prevented this D.Va from being here at all, which would be massive. Alright. So, that's another mistake. Now we're looking at Soldier. So this jump is too far. You need a shorter jump than this. Again, I think you need to work on your jump mechanics. You've lost 3, so I think it's the correct call to just return. I think this is the best call you have made yet, is just to return and be like, it's whatever. I would charge up Tesla Cannon. I think this is fine too. The bubble is too early. So there, you see how they're already getting knocked backwards? You should put the bubble down right now. That way you can stay in the bubble while zapping and then potentially kill the soldier in the situation. Like, imagine that you walked up here, then put down bubble. Now you can potentially kill 2. And this would be a huge play, right? But because you put down the bubble too early, you're scared to pursue, which I think is fair. And as a result, you don't get any good value out of that bubble. Now you jump in right now. This is very difficult because you're going to be out of line of sight of your healers, so you have to understand that you are committed once you get in here. You do have bubble, but you are committed once you're in here. If I was the D.Va and Hanzo, I would immediately fly into you and kill you. Bubble or not, I would just straight up kill you right now. So bubble comes at the right time. Force nano, which is great. It's a bad jump. Alright, you primal here, which I think is okay. I take that back. So your whole team is dead. It's hard for me to keep track of the kill count when I keep pausing. So who's really alive right now, right? You have all 5 right now alive. And then you're going to go in right now. Still all 5 alive, so it's okay. Hanzo kills your Ana. It's now 4v5. Very hard to turn this fight, you pop primal, you would have to guarantee that you get at least 1 kill, probably 2. Now that your Ashe is dead, there's almost no way that you can win this fight. Like, if you could literally be the best Winston player in the world, the odds of you winning this fight are near 0. So trying to pop primal here is a massive mistake and a waste of ultimate. You should have just died. Died or gone down. Either way, this is a feed. Yeah, like, I'm not even watching this. There's literally no way you can win this fight. It's 3v5. It's very hard to carry as Winston in outnumbered fights, right? It's much better for you to be taking the initiative and getting the picks first. Like, if you're Zarya, for example, you can carry a fight. If you're Hog, you can carry a fight when you're outnumbered. Winston, not good at that at all. So better bubble, right? It's good to have hunting down the soldier, right? Good melees. Again, this is a fight that you were expected to win though, because you guys are gonna pop all of your ultimates. So this is a very common situation where you lose, and then finally you've lost so much that everyone's synced up, and then everyone pops their ultimates all at once. So if you look right here, you're going to come out, and there's going to be 3 ultimates used in this fight by your team. And how many are used by the opposing team? 0. Diva Bomb gets used unnecessarily. So use 3 ultis for 1 to win this fight, which is not a sustainable, like, situation to win fights. This is why Diva should have died instead of popping bomb. Alright, moving card forwards. Kills 2, yep, great call. Yep, if he kills 2, there's nothing you can do about that. Just leave, go back, go home. Okay, so you dive in here. This is a gutsy dive. So keep in mind you're down 2 players right now, which means that, or down 1 player, I guess it's because the soldier died. So it is winnable. I'd say your odds of winning are about 30% at most. But if you think you can do it, you can try. You kill the Ana here, which is great. Continue the pressure on the Kiriko. Rest of the team kills 2. Or kills 1, rather. You kill the Kiriko. Oh, man, this is actually really good. This actually worked out really, really well for you. I think I'm surprised at how much you got it, but, like, it happens, right? I personally would not have made this call. I would have probably reset with my team, but I think that is... you ended up making a good decision here. So, I think definitely, when I see this, I would have done a quick short jump, hit this wall, slid around it, and put bubble down to save my soldier. So losing your soldier there is big. This is a terrible nano. Okay, so you get nanoed here. The correct call is not to land low ground. It would be to land high ground right here, center, right? 3 people, you land down, 75 damage instantly, plus the melee, which will hit these 2. That's going to be another 45 damage. It's 120 damage right away to these 2. Kill the baby Diva, kill the Hanzo, kill the Ana, right? Maybe you can turn this fight. Landing low ground, disastrous. Very bad. Super lucky that that splash hit the Ana. If she just took 1 step back, she wouldn't have been able to get hit by that splash damage. You're working on them. Zap, zap, zap. You kill the Kiriko. Then this jump in is crazy. Like, you should have killed the Kiriko and then returned back to your team. Right? Your Ana could have healed you. Your Ana wants to heal you, but you're so low right now, and then you die. So whatever momentum you did generate ended up getting thrown away by you jumping in there. But your team managed to hold on the cart, which is great. I would be very careful about doing this dive, because you can't actually see on the other side, so you have no idea what the positioning is. So you can easily get 0 value in that situation. I would have scouted to the right and seen what people were doing first. Okay, force it back from the corner. So when the Diva comes forward like that, you can't really do a lot to stop her, right? You see how she's just ignoring you? You should be zapping this back line that's walking forward instead. So when this Diva starts passing you, instead of trying to get in her way, just stay here and zap and prevent these 3 from walking forwards. That's what you should be doing right now. Because you could be doing 180 damage right now to 3 targets, right? Total, 60 damage per target. Instead of doing basically 45 damage or whatever to this Diva, which is not changing the fight at all. Kill the Ana. I don't really understand why this Ana never seems to have grenade. I wish my Anas that I fought never had grenade like this. I think there's a good jump against the Hanzo. You can put down bubble if you need it. He's just straight up whiffing. So you get low, you put bubble down. I understand. Obviously the bubble was like late. Oh god. So this is a tough situation because you have two over here, and they have three over here. So they have short spawn. I think my perspective would be is that I don't think I'm winning this fight. Even if I manage to get these kills right here, like I'm super low coming back to the fight. My Kiriko's already under pressure. My Tracer's already under pressure. I do not think I would be able to win this fight. I think if you were phenomenal Winston, maybe you could win this fight, but even then it would just be you left moving the cart and they would come over and prevent you from finishing the cap anyway. So I think this is another wasted primal. That's good mechanics though. Yeah, that was good tracking. But the actual timing of the ultimate, poor. I would tap X to confirm that someone's gonna kill you, because the last, like, sometimes you're like missing 100 health, you're like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal. You need to get that health. Like missing 150 health is enormously valuable as Winston, especially because the first 150 health is armor, right? You really need that armor because it is more valuable than regular health. So you jump over here just to reposition, which I think is okay. So now you go in deep. I think the D.Va's doing a bad job tracking you. You jump back. Nano's in. So I would probably stay in his face. Because if he nanos, I want him to nano and shoot me, right? So I would probably play over here. And I want him to shoot me in the face, not my squishies. And because my squishies die, I'm going to lose anyway. I don't have bubble here to protect them. So I'd rather just die here with my team. See, this is kind of a problem where you're like, oh, okay, cool, I'll just let my team die. But you might as well just try to give yourself a chance to win by body blocking the soldier and forcing him to shoot you. Okay, Tracer gets a kill. Hans is alone. Yep. Work on him with the Tracer. I would jump. This is one of the rare times where I say I would jump. At close ranges with tanks, I actually think it's a good idea to jump. Because it's very hard to evade otherwise, and you don't want, even though there's almost no way they'll miss you, but jumping can make it harder for them to headshot you at point blank. Okay, force soldier back. Again, don't mess with the D.Va. Yeah, you want to go for left. DPS on the left side. Yep, this is fine. Going for the Mercy. That's good. So this jump is ill-advised because you're already missing 100 health. You're diving into their backline and you don't have bubble. So you have 4 seconds until safety, basically. 4 seconds is an eternity for someone with only 350 health who's out of LOS of healers. So all the pieces of jumping went wrong here, right? You jump the target that's being pocketed, in fact being double pocketed here very, very soon. Number 1. Number 2 is you don't have bubble. Number 3, you don't have LOS to your healers. And number 4, you obviously don't have the ability to jump or step off in any way to get around fire, right? Plus, the D.Va is there the whole time, who is really, really great at melting you. I think D.Va is actually the best possible tank to play against Winston, even better than Roadhog. Roadhog at least has to land a hook. D.Va does not, and she's also much more mobile, so she can chase you down. So you see Tracers here, I would have jumped immediately to body block to make sure the Tracer doesn't die, and if I see the D.Va diving, then I would put bubble down. Letting your Tracer die is adding another 15 seconds on to your ability to contest. And then you're going to die for this anyway. Yep. So just lots of mistakes all around. Not saving your Tracer and not being able to get out. Right? It's like one of those situations where you made a mistake and then you like your reaction is delayed, which makes the mistake even worse. Then you make a second mistake. So you're going to jump in over here. I understand the idea to kind of land behind them and split them, but I would prefer that you land on somebody to burst that damage down. Because, for example, the Ana would be dead right now if you had landed on her. Because your jump, by the way, does 50 damage. You see the Ana is less than 50 health. Every box is 25. Theo's nanoed. Not much you can do about that. Going for the Mercy, which I think is the right call. So I would jump this soldier pretty much right away. Yep. Nope. I would not have popped primal there. So the problem is the fight was mostly won by the time you primaled this soldier. In fact, the fight was won by the time you primaled that soldier. So D.Va's gonna pop this again. I would just keep zapping her and then throw bubble down. Because then she ends up killing your Moira. And we're gonna go forwards. This is the last fight. So this is really bad, right? So you're walking up, you're face tanking this diva. The Ana grenades you right away. This is really, really bad. So instead, I would have moved the card up. I would just chill, right? No jumping, no jumping. Just chill. Wait for the diva to separate from her Ana. Then I go. Right now, this is when I can go. I can go in, I can bubble, I can zap, I can play the backside of the bubble if I need to. Just walking up like this, taking a ton of damage from diva, eating purple, this completely neuters your ability to do anything. Dragon comes in from behind, unfortunate. There's super little that you can do now. Alright, and that's basically game. So, let's kind of recap and make sure we cover your questions. So, again, number one, you say, hey, you get a few frags and you think you play well timed. I think you get like 4 final blows. If that. Which is not good. in a 10-minute match, like 4, maybe 5 final blows. That's really low, actually. So I don't think that's great. A, but B, do you think I think you play well at times? Not really. I mean, over 10 minutes, I think you played well for somewhere between 30 and 60 seconds. And overall, I would say that it looks like you're still very uncomfortable with playing Winston, which is fine. I mean, you're learning how to play here. Winston is a very hard hero to play. I think people dramatically underestimate how hard Winston is to play. There's actually a great thread on the subreddit recently where they talked about like tank mains, which something you thought was like unexpectedly difficult, and the top rated one was Winston, where they're like, oh, I thought Winston was so easy, I see other people doing it, and I played it, I'm like, wow, why do I always die instantly whenever I go anywhere? It's very hard to play Winston. You need to know a lot about the game and how much damage people do and how much damage and like how to use bubbles and like the timing. It's very, very, very hard to play Winston. I think it's much easier to play Ramatra or Orisa or even Sigma than it is to play Winston. Again, very, very easy to feed as Winston. So I quite frankly, do not think that you played well in this game. This game is like not even really particularly close. Like they're at 125 meters, you're at 60 meters, and they have control of cart at the end of the game. So you probably have to win something like 4 team fights consecutively to win the game, which is very, very, very hard. 4 team fights probably minimum, maybe 5 team fights. All right. Sometimes you're lost at times during the game. You don't have any goal or objective. Well, as I mentioned, like your overall objective should be push the enemy team back, and you push the enemy team back by jumping people who are vulnerable to Winston. Right? Squishy targets, 200 health targets and below, who don't have great close range damage. Okay. So the Anas, the soldiers, the Ashes, right? The Tracers, the Genjis, the Zens, the Baptiste even, right? The Lucios, Kirikos, those are all great targets to be diving. Okay? Diva? No. Reaper? No. Hog? No. Cassidy? Maybe. Torb? No. Right? Like, understanding who I'm supposed to be going for is such a critical part about playing Winston. So you jump these squishy targets, that kills them or forces them backwards, and then the diva, or whatever the tank is, has to also go backwards with them. Because if she doesn't, she's going to be overextended, and then your whole team collapses and kills her. Okay? There's not nearly enough backline pressure here in a successful way. Like, you do try to jump them repeatedly, but the timing is not right over and over and over again. So let's just go again, like, make sure we highlight some situations. Right, so you jump here. I think this is I think this is the right call, but I think you end up losing. Yeah, the problem is you lost. You lose one right there. You lose another. Unfortunate, and then you just need to reset. Kind of is what it is. Right, now you want to stay from the diva. So you're gonna do this blind jump on the back line. This is what I mean by the timing is not very good. Because I really think you should just been blown up and killed right now. Like, if she grenaded you there, I think you're just dead. Okay. And while this is going on, your team is getting melted in the front. I would not say this is totally your fault, but I think this is a great example where if you identified, like, continuing to stay after this DPS here versus trying to jump the Ana on cart would have been a better call. because over here, this soldier, for example, is super overextended. He's right next to you. You can hear him right now. He's like very overextended. So you can zap the soldier, force him back to the Kiriko, zap both, have the Kiriko teleport away, and then finish off the soldier. Versus trying to jump into the heart of the team, which is over here, and fighting this 3v1, which forces your Kiriko to teleport to you as well. And this unchecked soldier on your side ends up doing a lot of damage, right? Getting kills, etc. So, like, stuff like that is not so good. So let's pick another situation. So you're gonna come out again. Right, this jump, I think you really wanted to jump right side versus left side, but this works out still, right? You kill the Hanzo here. So this is good because the D.Va's just too preoccupied with your team. She really should have just blown you up. But over here, on offense, you jump this. This is one that actually ends up working out okay, to my surprise. And then this is the one where you don't save the Sojourn, which is big, right? You also had the opportunity to be more aggressive there and jump preemptively. And then what, you get nanoed here? Yeah, this is the one where you get nanoed. You get lucky here. Get some kills, and then you die, right? So this is actually a good jump, but you forget to return back to your team. Because you had double supports there, so you definitely could have survived easily if you just returned back to your team, which means that your team doesn't have any help against the tanks, which means that they're going to ultimately get walked over before you can get back. And then really bad primals. Okay, so let's summarize. Number one, when and where to jump. When, where, and whom to jump. Definitely problem number one. Number two, getting value from your bubbles, right? Number three, primal rages. Just when, forget the mechanics, but like when to pop them, you're consistently popping them in situations where it is unwinnable, right? Even if you're a god tier Winston, unwinnable with these primal rages to be able to turn them around and win it. So those are far and away your three biggest problems. So I will end there, and hopefully that is helpful. I will link Winston jumping guide, primal rage guide, and also a gameplay guide.